Do you enjoy playing games with one hand? Because I know I do. And speaking of playing games with one hand, Stellar Blade. Now that game is ass. Along with a couple others. So you may ask me, why on earth would I want to play ULTRAKILL with only one hand? And that answer is incredibly simple. It's so I can be scrolling Instagram Reels at all times while I'm playing the game. Because if my brain isn't falling out of my ears by the end of this, there's no point in me doing this. I mean, so brain dead, like when I was watching the Ice Cube War of the Worlds movie. And by the end of that, I was looking like that guy from SpongeBob who looks like a deep fried butt plug. You know what I'm talking about? Can you beat ULTRAKILL mouse only? So let's get into some rules. Number 1, I'm only allowed to use my mouse at all. I cannot rebind any of the mouse keys, which means I can only left click, right click, and use the scroll wheel. 2, I'm doing this on harmless difficulty only because I need the extra health. So yeah, go ahead and get angry at me, but remember, I have the movement capacity of Stephen Hawking. Yo, Stephen, why are you on that island, bro? Oh, you're at Biggie's Boat Rentals. Ah. Now, let's get into it. We start off with 0-1, where we, oh shit. Anyways, now we move on to 0-2, where I have to perform a very specific jump with the shotgun in order to get across. But other than that, this level is not too difficult. And on level 2-3, we meet our mortal enemy for this level, Glass. And much like that Tyler the Creator album, we cannot tap that ass. And I'm not gonna lie, getting through this section made me start losing my sanity. And it was almost as bad as scrolling through Facebook. You know what, I take it back, it was better. 0-4 didn't give me any trouble, despite the fact that my aim with the rocket launcher was about as good as your average game journalist. And now on 0-5, we have a bit of a tricky situation. The problem is I have to cross this gap, and you may say, that's not that long. And outside of a sad life story, I would have to agree with you. The problem is blasting at an angle where the momentum won't send me directly off the map and into the disgusting cesspits known as Twitter.com. But after we get into the boss arena, fighting the bosses are really not hard. Again, baby difficulty. I'm in Weenie Hut Juniors right now. Now, we head on to Layer 1, and Layer 1 presents us with a brand new challenge, Skulls. Now, you may ask me, you only have 3 mouse options. How are you going to use the skulls and progress? It's simple. I'm going to sneeze, and the grappling hook will magically appear to grab the skulls right in front of me. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Whoops. That's not supposed to be there. Gotta wait. 1-2 is not difficult at all, other than the fact that I hit the greatest trick shot since Joe Biden smacked Donald Trump that night when he got dropped. I was there on everything I love, bruh. On 1-3, we have this giant room to get to, and it possesses a really tough problem for me. But luckily for me, exploding on myself in a corner works out perfectly fine. But now, I should probably explain why it's hard for me to get through a door as it is for Squidward to ride a bike, and about why movement in this game absolutely sucks. So the way the rocket launcher works for movement is that normally you would just shoot backwards, but for some reason the amount of force you have to travel backwards, an equal amount has to be available for you to travel forwards. So if you end up pressed against a wall, the rocket launcher will only shoot up, because the opposite momentum can only go up. So my solution to this is to shoot the rocket and bounce around until it unsticks me from the wall. I know, truly mind-boggling stuff. Now, on 1-4, where we're going to go fight V2, which is actually harder than you would think. And by harder than you would think, I mean I died a grand total of 1 time because I had 0 health. Now, we head on to Layer 2, and if you look at this level at surface value, you may think it might be impossible, because even if you manage to reach this first climb, just slightly later in the level, there's an even bigger climb. So you may ask me, how did you complete this? It's simple. You just go to your local grocery store.
Sir, the candles knock up your butt.
Orient them in a circle and do the Unga Bunga dance. And all of a sudden, you're at the top and at the end of the level. Now, thankfully, 2-2 doesn't have us doing anything crazy just to beat it. On 2-3, we get our first taste of water. Me when I tried to build a ground access road without the state inspected drainage. State Building Code Title 30 Part 1 Chapter 239 Subchapter B. Nuh-uh. Yeah, I know, that's the whole joke, okay? I did 20 minutes of Googling to figure that out. 2-3 is not bad other than the giant combat arenas and the crushers, which of course I somehow managed to fly right into. And we finally make it to 2-4, which is the boss fight, and I discovered some crazy new movement tech for this, which is where I used the rocket launcher to move myself once before I killed the boss. I know, truly groundbreaking stuff. Now, we head on to the third layer and 3-1, and while getting through the dark room was a struggle, mainly because I couldn't see, after a while I was able to just skip the whole room and shoot myself towards the exit. But other than that, did you know that if you try to use the rocket launcher on surfaces that damage you, it doesn't move you? I bet you didn't know this useful information. Kind of like those water drainage laws I mentioned earlier. Anyways, I really thought that getting into the Gabriel fight on 3-2 was going to be really difficult, but little did you know that you can just fly up and drop this eye from the top and you're magically at the boss arena. Yeah, without this I would have lost my mind. So anyways, I'm at the Gabriel fight, which is really not that hard. Even if you can't move, he deals next to no damage. Now, this could be because I have double health, and it normally would be, but I'm not entirely sure. I gotta figure some things out. Now, we head on to the next act of the game and on to 4-1. And like your average French person, you got me fucked up if you think I'm actually doing any work. You see, instead, I'm gonna bomb my way across all the way to the exit and fight none of the enemies and easily pass this level. And in the spirit of being a Frenchman, I decide I go out and protest how much work I did. Now, on to 4-2, it's just sand. Like the whole level is just sand. And you remember that thing I said about damaging surfaces? Yeah, outside of this level being complete and utter ass, I hit this sick clip on the boss though. And after absolutely dunking on the boss, we head on to the next level, which is all in the dark, which kinda sucks, but it's a good thing because I can't fly off the map. That is until we get to the ending section, which has a lot of fighting. And if you remember, I have the movement capacities of Joe Swanson from the hit TV show Famgway.
Holy crap, I'm in Chicago. What? No! Peter sadly died, but only you.
So it sucks, but after a little bit of chiseling and finagling, we're able to get through it. And then we finally get to the end of the 4th layer with the second V2 fight, which is honestly really easy because I decided to start using the buzzsaw, which makes this fight trivially easy. Now, the hard part is that in order for the ending to appear, you have to use the whiplash on the grapple points, but other than that, this level is really easy, so it's technically a failed. No, it's not. You know why it's not? Because I'm the one making the video, and you're over here sitting on the couch with Cheeto dust on your hands, who hasn't done his laundry in 4 weeks, and is currently wearing the worst fit known to man. And yes, that is 100% polyester, by the way. Now we head on to layer 5, and we get into the first level. And after a little bit of finagling, we get to this platform. Oh yeah. Oh, that's not good. Anyways, on to 5-2. For some reason, these platforms are unbearably narrow. But after an extremely long time trying to line up the perfect shot to land on the platform, we get into the building just to realize that this level is impossible because of the fact that we have to punch idols, which we can't do. Yeah, just for shits and giggles, I decided to fight the ferryman, and he's not hard. I didn't even need to do it. I just did it, you know, because I'm amazing and I'm awesome. And I finally didn't do a not guns challenge. Unlike every other level in this entire layer, 5-3 is actually possible. The issue is that it's really fucking annoying because of the stupid ledges you have to jump over in order to get into the other rooms. Other than that, it's not too difficult. And now we head on to 5-4, and I originally thought that getting to the boss was going to be near impossible, but it actually turns out to be pretty easy. The real difficulty is in fighting the boss, because you can't heal yourself at all, and dodging the attacks that he does is extremely difficult. Because you remember, the only way I can switch weapons is using the limp dick scroll wheel, which essentially makes switching weapons impossible during this fight. So this level sadly impossible. And now on to layer 6, where we get through 6-1 with not much difficulty other than the final arena, which just took some careful positioning, and we're able to beat the level quite easily. And now on to the Gabriel fight, and I mean the hardest part of this entire level is just getting to him, because the parkour fucking sucks. So if you look at this section here, you can clearly see that there are tons of tiny gaps in between the platforms. The issue is I can only fly at 2 very set distances, so I fall a lot. After that, we have to precisely launch ourselves onto this bounce platform that does not like to work. And then, managing to get onto the bounce platform, we have to bounce again off a wall before we finally get up to an area where we can launch across and actually get to the fight. And now we get to the actual fight itself. And it's actually incredibly easy. And after we beat the shit out of Gabriel, he goes on his stupid rant about how, quote, the West is fallen, and that, quote, nothing ever happens. Now, we head on to the 7th and final layer, where we easily get through 7-1 and use my special skip where you take the skull and just revert it back to the last checkpoint, and you can skip half the level. Before we end up fighting the Minotaur, which despite the fact that you take damage from bouncing on the track, it's actually surprisingly easy, and we're able to beat the level. And then, we head on to 7-2, which we run into some slight problems. As you can see in this level, in order to progress, we need to open up these gates. The problem is that you have to push the buttons on this console, which effectively soft locks you as you can't pull out your weapons while you're in front of a console. So this level is impossible. We then head on to 7-3, which is pretty easy except for this final part, which has so many goddamn enemies, it makes you want to pull your ass hair out. But hiding in a corner, I finally was able to beat the level. Then we head on to 7-4. Dude, again with this stupid, dumb bullshit. Really? Really? Anyways, I want to thank y'all for watching, and I'm so happy I finally didn't do it without guns challenge, because I was low-key abusing the shit out of that. Kind of like Diddy was with those, you know what, never mind. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see y'all next time.